My name is Daniel, which backwards spells Leonard. Dude, we did that. Literally that exact thing in our trailer review for this. We were just trying to say our names backwards.
Oh, I do remember that. I thought we started it off that way. I was like, I don't remember that. No, yeah, I remember.
We totally did. What's going on, everybody? Critic and the Common Man back at you again. You guys all watched it. What's that?
What's going on? You have to like.
Oh, you're right. What's going on, everybody? Got to do the point. Critic and the Common Man back at it again. You all saw the thumbnail and watched the video. Enola Holmes. If you've texted this to anybody, your phone has inevitably autocorrected this to Ebola, which happened to me at least 5 times when Chris and I were talking about this.
I just watched Ebola.
Yeah. So we've all watched Enola Holmes. We've all talked about it. Chris and I are very familiar with that autocorrect. But here we go. So, as always, this is your spoiler warning. Critic and the Common Man, everything we review on here is a full review, spoilers included. So if you have not seen Enola Holmes, click off of this, go watch it, and then come back. Or Stranger Things, yeah, basically. Millie Bobby Brown. If you haven't seen it, click off, go watch it, and then come back. But let's jump right into this, Chris. So,
her name is so fun to say.
It really is. Millie Bobby Brown. Millie Bobby Brown. She was destined to be a celebrity with a name like that. Millie Bobby Brown.
Honestly, yeah.
Huh. Man, we're kind of on a roll, and in a little bit of a negative way, I think, because in our trailer review of The Devil All the Time, we both said that we think it looks like it could end up being a little bit of a dud. And spoiler warning, we thought it was a little bit of a dud. I won't say anything else. The other thing that we said about Enola Holmes when we watched the trailer review for this is it looked like kind of a young adult. It looked like kind of a young adult movie. Yeah. And I gotta say,
and I said that I didn't think so, but you were right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about the pacing, and I still think after watching it, I do think this very much felt like a young adult movie.
Absolutely.
And I didn't know if it was going to, going into it, I kind of had a hunch, an inkling. And then, unfortunately, again, it looks like we were right on a potential negative. And I'm not even going to say that's a negative. It's not like every movie has to be tailored to our exact age while, when we go and see it, when it comes out. I mean, that's just not going to happen. We enjoyed young adult movies when we were young adults, just as, young adults of today probably enjoyed this pretty well. That's kind of a weird sentence that I just threw out at you guys. But
one more time.
Yeah, we enjoyed young adult movies when we were young adults, just as young adults enjoy young adult movies today as young adults. Boom, there you go. A quote. Inscribe that on my tombstone,
Marcy is happy
please.
For you too. You see that was...
I want that inscribed on my tombstone 100%.
Come here, buddy.
Oh my God. So yeah, I mean that was kind of the big takeaway for me. And again, a little bit of a negative for me as maybe not somebody who's interested in the young adult films, but it did feel like it was targeted for a little bit younger demographic than probably you and I. Maybe the viewers can agree or disagree. Let us know in the comment section down below, of course, if you agree or disagree with these analyses or these reviews that we do. But what'd you think, man? I'm hogging the mic here. What'd you think? Enola Holmes, your initial reaction?
Initial reaction after watching it, it wasn't bad. Like, it wasn't bad.
Yeah, it was all right.
There were some cool parts. There were some parts that I felt were a little... I don't even know what the word is. Like, for me, not cliche, but, like, I wish that they had gone a different direction with some things. Like, I was cool with
her breaking the fourth wall and narrating the whole time.
That ruined it for me a lot, because there was no purpose to that. It could have literally been... I don't know. They were trying to sell the idea that they were in like this Victorian England, but with her breaking the fourth wall, it was this constant reminder that, hey, we're not in Victorian England. So it just completely broke the immersion for me.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And so that for me ruined it, as far as like selling what we were supposed to be seeing. On top of the fact that, and I'm going to ask you that later, but so we'll get back to that because I have notes. But no, what I really didn't like was that she is this young adult genius, basically, who happens to be running away. She gets an empty cart or an empty carriage compartment, and it was one of the C words, and not the one you're thinking of. Naughty. Yeah, but she gets this empty compartment, and then fortuitously, her young adult love interest counterpart happens to be in the same cart. And like for me, when I saw the bag moving, and I was like, that better not be a young guy. That better not be a kid that we're like, give us a
Cue the
female
love
lead.
interest.
Yeah, give us a female lead that doesn't have to end with her being in love with a man. Like I just don't. Anyways, just to hop off my little feminism horse there, but yeah, I almost feel like it would have been a little more entertaining if she had been helping an adult. I feel like that would have been interesting, like this maybe the same age as her brother or something.
It would have been more entertaining to us, I'm sure, but it would not have felt like a young adult movie. And I seriously think that's an important point to remember here, is that
this was geared towards like 9
kind of
to
a
12-year-olds.
quirky, fast. Yeah. This was a quirky, fast paced. You know what it was geared towards? It was geared towards the Millie Bobby Brown demographic. Who are the biggest Millie Bobby Brown fans? Probably young girls who are around her same age, who kind of idolize her right now. Yeah. Which is great. That's fine. She's a phenomenal actress. I'm all for her as being a celebrity and kind of an icon and all that. She's fantastic. Love Stranger Things. But it definitely felt like this movie was geared towards the Millie Bobby Brown fans, and that's sort of the energy that came off of it. Yeah, my wife told me something about that. I think we saw it on Reddit that she was the one who proposed this story.
Yeah.
So Enola Holmes is not, and I don't know the author who wrote Sherlock Holmes, the stories. I don't know. But I know that Sherlock and Mycroft are, canon, if you will, our original Sherlock. It's a nice little blend of their names. Sherlock lore. I don't even know if lore is the right word. I'm like getting this all sci-fi'd up. But
lore.
Original to the story, that those are true. But I don't think Enola. I don't think that they had. I may be wrong. Let me know in the comments down below if I'm wrong on that. But I don't think that.
I looked it up because I was curious, and I'm pretty sure Enola Holmes was added later.
Gotcha. She was a sub story later on
in like the early 2000s.
She was part of the original Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Stories. So they did kind of create this story, and
cue the hate.
It was all. It was all there. The story of Enola Holmes was there. I was interested. There was just a lot of things, like you said, that kind of suspended your belief of what was going on. And not all of them just being the quirkiness. Not all of them just being, I'm Enola, and I clearly am not the best at bicycling, or whatever.
Did we get Millie Bobby Brown on here?
Millie? Is that you?
Is that you?
But it wasn't just that. It was also the story that they were trying to tell. I mean, Sherlock and Mycroft would just completely forget about the fact they had a younger sister for, how old was she? Was supposed to be 20 in this?
Oh, I don't think so. No, because
dude, I think she was supposed to be
at the very beginning. It said that it was her 16th birthday.
Okay, 16.
Yeah,
I don't even know if she looked 16 in this. It's but it's like they basically ignored the fact that they had. What'd you say?
She looks 14. She's young. I know she's young.
Yeah. It was strange to me that Sherlock and Mycroft would just ignore the fact that they had a younger sister for that long, and then they come back to find her, and the genius that is Sherlock and Mycroft and all their explorations and exploits and everything, and they have the audacity to be fucking dickheads to her about her being intelligent
more
and
so
her trying to be a
brother.
Mycroft. Yeah, Mycroft
no,
for
Mycroft.
sure. I think,
Mycroft.
and I'm not a Mycroft.
No,
yeah,
Mycroft.
M-Y. Oh my God. I
Not
thought
yours.
you were saying Minecraft. Jesus. Right. Arcroft.
Mycroft.
How about that? Arcroft was a real asshole in this. And I think that Arcroft I'm pretty sure that he is kind of an ass in most Sherlock stories.
Oh, okay.
I know the Sherlock TV show that went on for a long time with Benedict Cumberbatch or Benjamin Cucumber or whatever you want to call him. He's got all the million
Pumpernickel
funny
Pumpkin
names.
Patch.
Yeah, exactly. I think Mycroft was in that too, and I'm pretty sure he was a bit of an ass in that as well. But I mean, my God, I just didn't believe that at all. That they would come back and find out they have this kind of soon to be or budding genius of a little sister, and they try to suppress that and just turn her into some woman, some classy lady, whatever. I'm just thinking, as smart as these guys are and all the things that they see and the job that they have, and they would want their younger sister to just be some random woman serving some man in their life. They wouldn't think that maybe it'd be better for her, coming from the quirky family that they come from in this story, for her to be independent and her own genius detective kind of thing.
Yeah, that bothered me too. Like I understand if the brothers need to be a little, overbearing to kind of get the story forward, but they felt a little too overbearing, like almost like why would you?
You haven't been there for 10 years.
He was
and
an
now you come
asshole,
back and all
dude.
of a sudden,
He was a complete asshole
fuck
to her.
off. You
Yeah.
haven't been here forever, and now you're gonna come back and all of a sudden send Enola into some woman's boarding school
You
thing.
are
Like
my
fuck you,
ward.
dude. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can let some of the things that happened go because we didn't grow up in Victorian England, so like the ideal society was very different than what it is today.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know. It was interesting, and the story was compelling. I didn't hate it. I didn't feel like I wasted my time or anything. If I had a daughter and she wanted to watch this, I don't think I would hate it.
Or son, Christopher. My God.
You're so right. You are so right. Hey, listen, if you're like a 10-year-old kid and you watch this and you're like, this is the best shit ever, this is the best shit ever then. Like, who are we to say that our opinion has to dictate?
Yeah.
Also, don't say shit because you're too young.
Whatever, dude. The world is changing. The days of kids not saying shit is over.
I was
Everybody says
I
shit.
was swearing by 12 years old. So
I remember when I started swearing as a kid, and I was so bad at it.
Yeah, I
Me
was
and my
too.
friends figured out swearing. We were running around on like the playground, and I remember us just screaming curse words. And it actually got to a point where one of my buddies was like, "Hey, dude, enough."
listen,
Yeah.
calm that shit down.
I know we just figured out how to do this, but chill out a little bit. It
What was
very
your
much felt
first
like a
curse
young
word?
adult. Oh, I have no idea.
Mine was
I have
bitch.
no idea. I think mine was bitch too, but I remember spelling it wrong. Like I remember first I wouldn't say the words, I would
Birch.
whisper them into people's. I would whisper the spelling of them into people's ears. I'd be like, "You're such a bitch," and they'd be like, "Ooh," and then inevitably somebody was like, "You're not even
That's
spelling
funny.
that right, dude." And then I figured out how to spell it. Then I would start saying it.
That's really funny.
But I did have some worries that Enola Holmes was going to be sort of a young adult vibe, and I did get that out of it. But it was fine as a young adult film. It was okay. It was entertaining. I didn't think the story was the most compelling story. I didn't think that but it was kind of weird too because the crime or the mystery in this was the Hargreaves kid, and the who did it was the and again spoiler alert, but it was the grandmother the whole time.
Which, do you recognize her, by the way?
I feel like I do, man, but I don't.
Who
was she?
She's Madame Maxine in the fourth Harry Potter movie. The tall giant woman.
Right.
And then the woman who's training Enola in this is Petunia, the Harry Potter's aunt.
Really? There's
Yeah.
there's a lot of Harry Potter reference in this.
And
yeah,
then-
there was a big cast.
I feel like there
no
was
doubt
one
about it.
other
There's a
person
big-
from Harry Potter, but
Yeah. I'm not upset that they made this movie or anything, and I'm not upset that we watched it. I just think it was for what it was.
hang on.
Marcy's giving her input.
Please hold.
Hold. And action.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, it's all good. I feel like for what it was as a young adult film, it was very entertaining. I was waiting for like some Chronicles of Narnia stuff to start happening. I don't know. I was just getting like a very young adult vibe from this thing, not to rehash that same phrase over and over and over. I liked the acting for the most part. I thought Henry Cavill was a convincing Sherlock, even though
Yes.
he's massive and jacked or whatever. It's still
Dude, at
somehow
the
worked
end
that
when he's wearing that overcoat, I was like, dude, that thing is, your muscles are gonna break it. Like, if he just
I know
flexes,
he's looking like Luther from Umbrella Academy.
if he
there. He's
swats a
busted
fly,
out.
he's ripping that thing open. Like,
You're waiting for him to take the jacket off, and it's the Superman.
oh, dude, I
know,
just
uniforms
realized he's the
underneath.
Witcher. Holy shit.
He's the Witcher.
I
He's the
always see
Witcher,
him
he's
as Superman. Yeah, I always see him as Superman. I forgot he's the Witcher. Holy crap. Good for
Right.
her.
Yeah, he's in a lot of stuff now.
She gets to work with the Witcher.
That's right, and now he's Sherlock Holmes as well.
Yeah.
I liked the acting. The guy who played what's his name? The guy who played Mycroft. He's good too, and I like him in movies, and I don't remember his name. It was fun. I think kind of the boring, bland word to describe this movie is that it was pretty fun. And I think if you have younger kids who are maybe a little more interested in this, it was definitely aimed at a little bit younger audience. I do think that they'll enjoy it. I think that the younger audience will find this one pretty entertaining. Again, I do think it was a fun movie. It just, it was a little lost on me. I kind of was over it. I was expecting more of her solving the puzzles and following riddles and kind of doing the Sherlock thing.
Yeah.
And we got a little of that with her mom leaving the stuff behind.
But none of it was
her
like
mom,
to the story.
yeah. I just right, and the Hargreaves kid or whatever his name was, her love interest in this. It was okay. It was all right. People will love it or hate it, I think, but it was kind of right in the middle. It was an entertaining movie to show for your family. It's not going to be anybody's favorite film. I don't think it's going to have a huge following for this one.
For having his hair cut by a 14, 15, 16-year-old girl with a knife in the middle of the forest, his hair looked perfect when when they combed it after. There were little things here and there that just bothered me. Like, I had to ask, and I'm going to ask you this right now, because it's the question I had earlier. Did you buy that we were looking at something from a Victorian age?
Did I buy that we were looking at something from a
Like, did it feel
age?
Victorian to you, or did it feel like they were just in costume?
It's a good question, man. I didn't feel super immersed. And you know what? You make a great point with the fact that maybe it was her narration and the quirkiness of it that kind of pulled me out of that. They had the old house that was all overgrown with the vines and everything. They had the old motor car. I guess I bought it. I don't think they put a ton of emphasis on it. I just think that they tried to set it up enough to where you thought that was the time you were in. I'm going to say that I did buy it, but I'm also going to say that I wouldn't say this was the most immersive, Victorian England kind of scenery or anything that we've ever seen in film. What about you?
Well, there were little things that just kind of bugged me, like everything was just a little too clean and too perfect, with the hair. There were just moments that this movie brought me out, story-wise. The tone kept shifting. Like, there would be moments, like, at the end when they're, like, having the shootout in, like, the hallway or whatever of that, like, their mansion or whatever you want to call that, their castle, their estate.
Right.
That felt more like the original kind of Sherlock Holmes feel, where the rest of the movie did not build up to any sort of tension like that. So
I agree with that.
It was just it was trying to find a tone somewhere between like a mystery and a teen movie, and it did neither. It just didn't really mesh well together,
You make a good point about everything feeling too clean. It did feel really sterile. The whole thing felt super sterile. Normally when you see these movies that are set in old England or whatever, everything's really grungy and grimy, because I think that's how life actually was back then from all the accounts
we
that we have
see some of it when she gets to London for the first time, but
some of it, but not a lot. And even like the jiu-jitsu school, all their gis are perfectly white and shiny, and the establishment is really clean, and even the house that they set up for them, the Sherlock Manor or whatever, it was quirky and there were things everywhere, but even that felt kind of sterile. It didn't feel lived in. Like if you watch a movie like Knives Out, they do such a good job of making that house feel lived in. Like it feels like everything has actually been there forever and has some dust and some character. This felt sterile in a lot of ways. You're right, it really did.
Yeah,
and the tree house that the kid had built, and they go up in, everything was clean and tidy, and it just, you're right, very sterile, very sterile.
So, again, I didn't hate it. I just don't think it was as immersive as I wanted it to be. But you know what? It is also not a movie intended for critics and adults. This is a movie geared towards a younger audience, towards people who are going to appreciate this. Usually people who are going to be fans of the books that came out 10, 15 years ago.
Right. Let's digress for a second. And I'm watching the timer. I don't want to go.
Digression music.
Cue the digression.
Digression.
That was like the Mario. Yeah.
I'm not even going to put anything in.
5 minutes max that this discussion will take place, maybe less. This seemed to me like it was on par with what Netflix has been putting out for their original content lately. Lately being The Devil All the Time, lately being Project Power, lately being this. The things that Netflix has been putting out, especially their movies lately, I felt like they've kind of lowered the bar a little bit. A little bit. They just don't feel like This didn't feel like it had the same depth to something like a Stranger Things. This didn't feel like it had the same depth to something like an Altered Carbon or some of the older
Season
Netflix
1, not
original.
Season 2.
Season 1, yeah.
I
Check
wonder
our
if
review
there
of Season
was
2.
a shift in creative directing or something.
I don't know. I don't know if it was a shift in creative directing or if it's a shift in their business model now where they're
Maybe,
saying our
yeah.
original content is what's driving viewers to us.
And
It's what's
where
driving
people are still
consumers.
watching it.
Totally. And
Yeah.
again, it's not bad. And Project Power was not bad. You can watch our reviews for any of this. Watch our review for The Devil All the Time. Go watch our review for Project Power if you want. But what I mean is the quality is not quite up to snuff with maybe what you would think of a Netflix original content from 3-4 years ago.
Like Bright, which I really liked.
Like Bright, which was a phenomenal series with
Which
Will
did not
Smith.
it did not get good reviews, but yeah.
I don't know how.
Yeah.
And maybe that's part of it too. Maybe the reviews that are being put out there are driving the change of their business model.
Maybe.
But I almost think that they're saying it's now a little bit more so about quantity over quality.
Well, I
And
did
I don't
read
know if that's
that
the case.
a few years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I know that Netflix went from like something like 10 original movies a year to like 40. And I think we're seeing that.
That's just it.
I think
That's
we're
just
seeing
it.
that
It's
now.
almost like Netflix goes, what's setting us apart from Amazon Prime Video? What's setting us apart from Hulu? What's setting us apart from Disney Plus now? It's our original content.
Our
and it is.
average original content. Cue the original
So
average
if
content
they're,
music.
If they're, yeah. If they're, you're gonna have to find music for each one of those, like distinct music.
Or I
If
just
their
don't put
business model-
anything in. And
Please
it's-
put something
yeah.
in. Oh my god, it's just us wiggling.
Yeah.
If their new business model is to put out 40 original films a year, or a film and TV show kind of mix, but none of it is that great, that kind of sucks. I would rather see 10 great things a year. And it's good for us business-wise if we're talking about the podcast. It's way better for us to have 40 things a year than 10. But as a viewer, at the root of this, I would rather enjoy the movies a little more. And you know what? I'm not saying this, and we'll go ahead and switch off of this topic again, because this is an Enola Holmes review. It's not a Netflix analysis. But I'm not saying Enola Holmes was a bad movie. It was a young adult movie. But, okay, put yourself in the shoes of somebody watching this as a young adult. I still think it lacked. I still think there were young adult movies that have come out previously that were a lot more entertaining and more interesting.
I 100% agree. 100% agree. And it could be that we're living in a time of pandemic, and maybe they're just looking for content to distract us. And I don't know. I really don't know, because I don't.
Well, and you see things like, again, not to harp on this, but we've talked about this before. You see things like Netflix buying the rights to Reddit stories. You know what I mean? And they're looking for content everywhere.
Yeah.
And now, is that a sign of them diversifying, or is that a sign of them running out of content, or both? I don't know.
Yeah.
But this could be a little bit of a result of that. It did okay. The critic scores were really high. The critic scores on Rotten Tomatoes for things coming out lately have been pretty off, I've felt like.
Yeah, I agree.
I've been on average, I would say like 20% or more away from the critic scores on Rotten Tomatoes, whereas the older stuff I feel like we're usually somewhere around 10% away in our review. Now, the audience scores are usually a little closer. The critic score on Enola Holmes was 92%.
What?
The audience score was 68%.
Okay. Yeah, that seems about right.
Yeah, I think so too. So where do you come in, before we go into our current event or anything like that, where do you come in on Enola Holmes rating-wise?
Ratings-wise, so like I said, the story was just not 100% there. The directing broke the immersion a little bit here and there, so I'm going to take off some points for that. It wasn't as fluid and as seamless as it could have been, I think, and there were just little moments here and there that kind of took me out of it. The cinematography wasn't bad. There were some cool shots, like the very last shot when like you see like the square that she's in.
Right.
Hi, buddy. And but then there are some scenes where it looks a little amateurish, and I don't know. It overall it wasn't bad, but if I had to give it a score, I would say I'm pretty close to the what is it called on Rotten Tomatoes?
The audience score.
The audience score. Thank you. I think I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. It didn't waste my time, and I'm kind of leaning more towards 6.5 than 7. But seeing that it is a young adult show. I think that if I was a 10-year-old and 11-year-old, I think that would have been a little more entertaining for me. So I'm going to go with a 7, just give it a little slightly stronger score. 92% you said critic score doesn't make sense to me.
92%.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me.
That's high.
There are issues.
I know people love Millie Bobby Brown, and I know Netflix
Brown
gets the Netflix boost of at least 10% for their original content for the critics, but yeah, that is high. A little tension. So you're giving it a 6.5 or a 7?
A 7. I'm gonna go with a 7.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to you on that. I'm pretty close to you in there. Again, as someone who's just sitting down and watching this, I immediately got the young adult vibes. There were some major plot things that I just didn't enjoy. The movie to me was simultaneously too quirky and too boring.
There wasn't really a plot. Because,
yeah, it kind of felt. It seemed to me like it should have been one or the other.
You know
it
what?
Going to be really quirky or
6.5.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go down.
Yeah,
6.5. There really wasn't a plot. Like the plot was about her finding her mother, and then it wasn't.
It was about her finding her. It was kind of about her finding herself and going on her first adventure.
But that's more of like
that
the subtext.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It was like on her way to find her mother, she kind of gets caught up in helping this boy. Which again, she even says, she's like, "Mom, you'll have to wait. Sorry," like breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah,
and whatnot. It was.
And you know what?
It was
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Just for someone who is supposedly really bad at like being in the outside world and had never seen the outside world before, she was pretty good at it. So
yeah, she traversed the adult world with ease.
I didn't feel like there was any danger, and again, it goes back to that no tension really in this.
Didn't feel like there was any danger until the very end when they were potentially going to get shot.
Yeah. So please.
But
continue.
it was simultaneously too quirky and kind of boring. And it's weird because normally it's one or the other. A quirky movie, you can at least say, okay, it's quirky, but it's, it's fast paced, it's whatever. This one felt a little bit of, it somehow was a little bit of both to me. Even as a young adult film, I don't think this is going to be a major hit. I think the audience score pretty much is pretty close with where I'm at. I thought there were problems with the plot. Not to take away with anybody's acting. Millie Bobby Brown. She's phenomenal. She's got a fantastic career ahead of her. We'll be reviewing many, many more of her films and TV things, I'm sure. She's great, and good for her for strutting her stuff and going in there to Netflix and saying, hey, well, let's do this film. I think it probably did fairly well as far as people watching it. Henry Cavill was great. The guy who played Mycroft, I always forget his name, he was fine too. The acting was all there. The story was a little bland, which again, going back to that Netflix analysis, is kind of what we've been seeing of Netflix original content lately, especially the movies. For me, this one actually gets a 6 out of 10. I just think putting it in the 5s is a little too harsh because it had some things going for it as far as the acting and whatnot. And again, it's hard to rate this as someone who's not a young adult, rating a young adult film. But for me, I'm giving it a 6 out of 10, and I'm pretty confident with that one. But that's it. I mean, 6 out of 10 and 6.5 out of 10 for Enola Holmes. Had a little higher expectations for this one, I'm not going to lie. But we did kind of call it. We did kind of call it in the trailer review that it might be a little young adult, and it was to its detriment to us a little bit, but also just had a lot of things going for it not going for it rather, that kind of hurt it. But that's it, man. You got anything else for Enola Holmes before we jump into our current event for today?
Not really. I mean, it was just kind of an average run-of-the-mill teen mystery movie is really what it was.
Yeah, pretty unremarkable. That's it. Leave a comment down below, guys. Let us know what you think of Enola Holmes. Of course, nothing against the actors and actresses, but tell us what you think of the story, if you enjoyed it, if you thought it was kind of boring, if you really loved it. Especially if you loved it, tell us why, because we're always interested in hearing the contrasting opinions to what we say when we're up here doing this. So drop a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you hated it. Hey, fair is fair. Let us know down below, and especially leave a comment and let us know what you guys think. We're going to jump into our current event for today. This is kind of a fun one, Chris. I think you and I will enjoy this one specifically. So Patrick Stewart has come out and said that he is calling for a Star Trek Star Wars crossover film. He wants to see a crossover movie. And of course, I'm sure he was saying this kind of jokingly, not really expecting this to happen, but it leads to kind of an interesting discussion, man, because with Star Trek kind of the story being at an end and them looking for content, and with Star Wars looking for a new way forward, do you think it's possible? And I don't know that we'll ever see it on the big screen, but do you think it's possible, even maybe in this form of something quirky, like a special release on Disney Plus or something? Are we ever going to see in the future crossovers between these mega sci-fi stories? Do you ever see something like that happening? What do you think of a Star Trek, Star Wars crossover?
Like specifically, like, do I see any crossover ever happening between any sort of a sci-fi? Sure. Specifically between Star Wars and Star Trek, there would be civil war. Like, people would
freak.
Yeah, they, like, the Star Wars fans would be like, this is outrageous, and the Star Trek fans would be, you know, like, or whatever the hell Klingon sounds like. So I don't know, man.
Star Wars fans would be like, "Oh, this is bullshit," and the Star Trek fans would crawl out of their caves in their parents' basement
it is our time.
And make noises.
I don't know. I'm a Star Wars fan and not a Star Trek fan. So
my dad was a big Trekkie. And
really?
We watched a little bit of it when I was younger, but we didn't watch a ton of it, but he was a big time Trekkie. I've always been more of a Star Wars person.
I took a sci-fi class and I had to watch Star Trek, a lot of it. And not a fan.
I would still we talked about this we did a film challenge on Instagram, and basically every day was another question. One of the days was, who in film has a job that you would most like to have? And for me, it's still Captain Kirk. Like, dude, to just explore the galaxy and find, explore the universe and find new civilizations and go on adventures. That would be, like, he has the most incredible job, man, on the Enterprise. But I don't see anything like this ever happening, man. Not from Lucasfilms.
The red tape they'd have to go through.
Oh man,
yeah.
It would be. Look how much of a nightmare it's been just trying to get fucking Spider-Man in these Avengers movies.
Exactly.
I mean, that's brutal. And then of course, how do you split up the profits? The revenue. How do you choose how it's advertised? What studio gets to make it? Who has control over the writing?
Yeah.
Because what if Lucasfilms agrees to this, and then Star Trek, like, the writers are Trekkies and they just shit on the Star Wars people the whole time? I mean, there's no way.
And then
dude.
You get
This
into
is
the
not
idea
happening.
that, like, because Star Trek takes place in our galaxy, well, I don't know about our galaxy, but in our world, like, they came from Earth.
True.
Star Wars takes place a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah. You're right. It would definitely not be. It definitely wouldn't be Captain Kirk and Luke Skywalker. No way. It would have to be kind of some sub
Can you
thing
imagine?
where it would be weird, dude. I mean, but you got to admit, you got to give Patrick Stewart credit. It's a pretty fun thing to think about.
Of course,
it's at least kind of a fun thing to fantasize about. Wow, that got raunchy. It's a fun thing to kind of think about, man. I just think there's
Get
no
your
way.
Klingon.
I mean, oh baby, live long and prosper. You know what I'm saying? Live very long.
I'll show you why they call it the USS Enterprise. I have no idea what that means. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. The Mile High Club, the 10 billion miles high club, the Light Year High Club. Hey, there we go.
I'll show you the
Light
final
Year High
frontier.
Club.
There we go.
All right, there it is. That's it. I don't see it happening, man. I mean, yes, we do harp on here about how we think Hollywood's running out of original content and whatnot, but dude, they would have to be so desperate to start doing crossovers like that. The studios hold on to their proprietary stuff so tightly, rightfully so. It's fun, Patrick Stewart. I'm with you. I appreciate it, but there's no way in hell.
That's not happening.
No way in hell. Is there any are there any crossovers rather that you could see happening? I mean, obviously not Star Wars and Star Trek. Are there any smaller series, kind of sci-fi or not, that you could see having like a successful crossover?
Ooh. Sci-fi or
everything
not.
Everything in the Marvel universe is kind of tied into each other already.
Yeah.
So it's not really a crossover, I guess. Like the X-Men, Deadpool being in an Avengers movie or something like that. It's not really that far-fetched. But we're talking about two completely separate things. We're talking about Batman and Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We're talking about, oh, dude, that'd be fucking awesome. Like a DC Marvel matchup. Yeah. That would be cool.
Yep.
I could see them doing something like that eventually.
Yeah.
Like 50 years from now, I could see us getting some sort of weird
There's a lot of contracts.
Crossover. It'd have to be like the studios bought each other out somehow. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree. Well, at this rate, DC is going to go under, so...
Dude, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If these new Suicide Squad movies and like the DC universe can't turn itself around, Marvel's just gonna buy it. You know what I mean? Disney's just gonna
Bless
own
the
that
people
next.
that defend DC to this day. They're trying really hard with their movies, and the stories are really darker. It's like, yeah, well, the movies aren't great. So
If people, dude, the people that defend DC right now are fucking weirdos.
Yeah, they're-
right? If you defend DC, come on.
the
you
movies,
know what I mean? It's
the
like
movies.
the movies.
No,
the
in
movies.
general, just the
We're not
fucking
going
comics too, you assholes.
Oh no, dude! Nothing but respect for the comics.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the movies as of late. We're not talking about the Dark Knight. We're talking about recent DC content:
Yeah.
Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn, and the fantabulous,
Harlots.
Harlots, whatever. Yeah, we're talking about that. We're not talking about classic DC. That to me, and I'm sorry, I asked you a question, have now just walked all over your ability to answer it. But that to me is the only mashup that I could ever see in the future is maybe like a DC Marvel kind of thing.
I could see like maybe some, I don't know, man, mystery movies. Like I could see Sherlock Holmes getting mixed with some other
Sherlock Holmes, and then they make a new Enola Holmes, and then they have a crossover.
Yeah, something, or in the same sense as like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, where you have like Frankenstein and Dracula and something like that, where it's like more of like a cult classic kind of a thing as opposed to specific franchises. Because anytime you get a franchise trying to cross over with another franchise, you're basically whipping out your dicks and saying, well, whose dick is bigger, so who's going to get the most money?
Uh-huh.
That's
right.
So
it becomes a nightmare as far. Yeah, because Marvel's going to come in and say, "Look at all this profit. Look how many people love our movies. If we do a crossover with you, people are going to be there to see us, not you." And DC is going to be like, "Well, look at the Dark Knight. Look how well these movies did. People are here to see Batman." And yeah, it would be a nightmare.
We'll make Ben Affleck lose weight again. Come on, Marvel. Come on.
Oh, Batfleck. No, man, it's going to be a nightmare. I don't see it happening. Just a funny thought to put out there, a conversation piece for you guys to bring up with your movie-loving friends and family. Do you ever see a crossover like
I
that
could
happening?
see
Star Trek, Star Wars?
modernized Lord of the Rings with Harry Potter.
Oh my God, that would be weird as hell.
Yeah.
And then strangely, it wouldn't. You know what I mean? It'd be weird as hell, but at the same time, somehow it would not be. I don't think people want that. Nobody's asking for that. That's
Yeah,
it,
I was
man.
totally
Let's get
kidding.
out of here.
I was totally kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, no one wants that. No one wants that at all. Harry Potter just dueling it out with some urukai, just blasting them away. I don't know, man. I'm not opposed to watching that, but
I have a new idea for a short film. Yeah.
There you go. That's it, you guys. That was our current event today. Patrick Stewart's calling for a Star Trek Star Wars crossover. Of course, he's joking around. He's not really being serious, I don't think, but it does.
My
it
battery's
does lead
about
to
to
a fun
die.
conversation. All right, perfect. Good timing. That's it. Then we're going to get out of here. Chris's battery's about to die. We have to go solve a mystery. We got to figure out what our names are backwards so we can finally get to the bottom of this.
Search.
We need to write.
Which is what I'm about
we need
to
write them
do.
down. There you go. We're out of here. That was Critic and the Common Man, the review of Enola Holmes, our current event today, a little fun one. If you guys liked it, drop a thumbs up down below. Give us a subscribe for more content like this. Hop over to our Instagram. We do it every time. Plug the Instagram. We got a lot of fun stuff over there. Channel slowly but surely growing, and we appreciate you guys very much for that. So that's it. Drop a thumbs up, a subscribe, or a thumbs down if you hated it. We can't stop you. That's it. Critic and the Common Man, review of Enola Holmes.
But we're also very
outta
powerful
here.
people, so.
Peace.